Welcome everyone to the podcast. I'm joined by Emad Deznabi, Manzzbigg.
You have all these guys, Andrew Tate, whatever it is that's going on. I myself, I'm training for 15 minutes a day. Bro, why do you train? Why do you want a good physique? I have it built in.
Photo of you with the lion. In the
bro, I am the lion. All over the world that are motivating these guys to go to the gym. But now it comes down to the actual strategy. Lion doesn't get disrespect from the biker. You've seen 100 men could defeat a gorilla.
Can I be honest with you? I'm leaning towards yes.
I think he's natural, but hold on. It's always been about training.
Yes.
If I was never wrong, I would have never learned.
Welcome everyone to the podcast. I'm joined by Emad Deznabi, Manzzbigg. I'm the host for today, Hami.
Excuse me, that's how you're gonna introduce me. Your Highness, Manzzbigg, Emad Deznabi, His Majesty.
Bro, this guy, bro. But yeah, here we are today in, what's the name of this podcast studio?
We're in the podcast office.
The podcast office in Dubai. It's my first time here. Very cool place. We're gonna talk, have some... Looking at me very strange.
Hami was very early to this podcast today.
I was not early. Ahmad sent me a location that made me 45 minutes late because I didn't know
Don't use Google Maps.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I use Google Maps in Canada. But
do not use Google Maps in Dubai. Waze, even Apple Maps is okay. Google Maps is...
Apple Maps is slow and it doesn't always calculate traffic.
Yeah. So Waze, your go-to should be Waze, never Google Maps. Anyways, let's get started. The whole point of... this podcast was Hami wanted to start cooking.
Yes.
And thought, why not get it over in a conversation? Because we typically have many interesting conversations whenever we speak. Some of them can never be on camera.
No.
And some of them are honestly too good that they're not on camera.
Yes.
So today we're going to be having this conversation and hoping that the editor will never release the parts that are not supposed to be on camera.
Exactly. What's his name? Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim.
Gene.
Looking at you. So I think both of us, we naturally have, I would say, fairly a bodybuilder or hardcore athlete background of some sort. I know you started into hockey, I was into golf, and now we're super into bodybuilding. But I think it's important to step back and talk a bit about the fundamentals because there's a lot of people out there, and I'm sure you know, thanks to people like, let's say Andrew Tate, for example, everyone's going to the gym now. It's the new thing. Even losers go to the gym.
Yeah.
So what I want to say is I think today we can dive into things that can give value to those people and maybe build on top of that. So I'm going to start with a more unique question. And
you have all these that are going to the gym now. They're busy. Yeah. Most of them are career driven. Yeah. Most of them are dads. Some of them are dads. They're working. They're busy. Ain't got time. Yeah. They have very busy schedules, but they still want to get to a good physique. And the good thing is that you have and who have been doing this, and we have experience from it because you're a university student and you manage your time. I'm a professional bodybuilder. I used to go to school as well while I competed. Learning how to manage your time is one of the key things. So this is one of the biggest topics that we can go ahead and start off already. You have all these different guys that want the good physique. Sure, now you have all these guys, Andrew Tate, whatever it is that's going on all over the world that are motivating these guys to go to the gym. But now it comes down to the actual strategy. Most of these guys do not have time to go to the gym. What do you do about that?
Well, number one, they don't even have the time to make a strategy. That's one big thing. So I heard, I was talking to ChatGPT yesterday for my content creation.
By the way, that is one of the most underrated things you can ever go ahead and do is just sit down for 1 hour. You already talk to loser friends. Just sit down and talk to ChatGPT about you, your life. Talk to it about something. Tell it, teach me something that is important for me to know. EQ, financial knowledge, health, something. Most of you guys just sit down and speak to your loser friends talking about the next GTA 6 that's about to come out, especially about the jiggle mechanics about it. Stop talking about nonsense. Just sit down, talk to chat about something that's genuinely useful and watch how much smarter you're going to get.
I was thinking this when I came back. So I study in a more, let's say, party/sporty school in Canada. So a lot of people are in shape.
Which university?
Western University.
Western University.
2 hours west of Toronto. And everyone's in shape there. But then I came back here and I'm like, it's just blows my mind how many people are okay with looking like crap.
Yeah.
And they all want to have a good physique. And their number one defense mechanism, and I'll talk into how this applies even with, like, let's say girls, but is I don't want to get too big. That's a defense statement, because to get too big, it takes 8 years.
Bro, you have guys that are trying their absolute best to get big, not too big.
Yeah.
And they fail.
Yeah.
And you are scared that you're going to fall, trip, and get too big.
And then these same people also talk about how, I don't know, they want to try this new sport. It's like there's always a new sport trend. Like people want to become a hybrid athlete. Then they want to become a carnivore diet. Now. Then they want to do rock climbing and whatever. And it's like all of this, the base is lifting weights.
Yeah.
Every athlete lifts weight. Like the number one reason swimmers are jacked
because of resistance training.
Because of resistance training.
It's resistance training.
Same with if you look at football players, a big amount of their actual capability on the field comes from size, which they get from training. And
even if you want to take a look at it from a different perspective, I mentioned this on my last podcast. Every single thing you can think of that gives you any sort of benefits is weight training, is resistance training. Yeah. Let me break it down. Physiotherapy. You get someone rehabbed out of pain. That is physical. That physiotherapy is bodybuilding. If you fail to realize physiotherapy is bodybuilding, then your physiotherapy is bullshit. It does not make sense. You stretch to give you a building step to go ahead and lift that muscle and build strength. You go ahead and you do dry needling to take away pain so that you can go ahead and lift that joint and start to build strength. Whatever it is you do, the mobility exercise, whatever it is, movements that you do in physiotherapy, movements that you do for rehabilitation are bodybuilding movements broken down to the very, very basics.
Yes.
The goal of that is to build your capacity up to load that joint through its full range of motion. At that point, you're pain-free. Football, running, that's resistance against air. That's why your legs get jacked. That's why you get good legs. But after a certain point, you have pretty decent legs. You have no upper body.
Yeah.
Right? Swimmers was a very good example that you mentioned. The whole reason why 90% of these guys look good from swimmers is because they do resistance training. Yeah. Water has more resistance than air does. Yes. I'm trying to swim in it.
Yes.
That's resistance. What else is there? Gymnastics is like the most pure form of resistance training you can ever give me. Like that's pretty obvious. Yeah. Weight training, resistance training is a core of everything.
Especially for health, I think, for example, if you just look at how much it can improve things like fasted blood sugar.
Yeah.
Absorption of food.
There is nothing.
Digestion.
I'm a medical student. I've studied this until now, at least until now. Maybe I'm going to stumble upon something that genuinely is a lot more out of my control, out of your control. I have not read about anything, any disease, any sort of problem that could either be completely cured or improved up to 99% just by weight training to build more muscle mass and decreasing your body fat levels. And anybody wants to give me an example, comment it down below, and I'll actually go ahead and reply it to you exactly how the mechanism of action of weight training and having more muscle will actually take care of that. Anything. Make it as extreme as you want.
So the question is now, weight training or cardio, and why?
Of course weight training. Cardio is bullshit. You do cardio, you're retarded. You don't realize what the hell the point of cardio actually is. If you are doing a task that demands you to have the skill of performing that movement for a very high period of time, that makes sense. But if you're doing cardiovascular training for heart health, that does nothing. That does nothing. The bigger impact is decreasing your body fat levels, decreasing your body weight, and increasing your muscle mass, so that increasing your muscle mass to a certain degree so that it can actually help with vascular return, and it can actually help with your heart pumping and improving something called stroke volume. If your stroke volume is up, your heart is working more efficient. If your stroke volume is up, your heart is going to be working more efficiently, needing less beats to actually pump blood around. Muscle mass is the single key most important thing to this. I myself, I'm training for today. If you don't believe me, I've said this multiple times. Watch my YouTube videos. I have recorded multiple sessions where I'm training for less than 15 minutes. Today, my session took 12 minutes. My heart rate was up to 180 during that 12 minutes. 180. And my resting heart rate, let's actually check it out now. I have just gotten back into training after this incredible viral infection that's been going on.
How long were you off?
I was off for almost a month.
Oh my God.
I was off for a big time.
Do you have it on the health app?
Yeah.
It's connected, right?
Yeah. Please, can you read this out for people to see?
The 66 beats per minute.
Over the last month. Okay,
Average.
so this is the month that I've been sick. This is last month.
56. So I assume that's going to be your normal heart rate once you restore training.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you can kind of see that it's been zigzagging up and down. This is because I was a little bit inconsistent with wearing my watch. But yeah, it's over the past month.
Okay, so going more into training now. A lot of beginners, why should someone who doesn't want big legs train their legs?
It's a good question, right? I think this is a two-part thing that we can almost break this down into. Why do you train?
Train?
Why do you
everything
train?
Or just
in general, why do you train? Why do you want a good physique?
Asserts dominance.
Okay. Confidence.
Representation of discipline.
Sure. Amazing.
Yeah.
You nailed it already. If you were born with that physique from day one, or you took steroids and roughly jumped to that end point, do you think you would gain all those other mental benefits that you just mentioned? Or would you not value that physique as much?
You would value it less.
Great answer. So if the case, is it the physique that gives you that discipline? Is it the physique that gives you that confidence? Or is it the act of things that you have to do, control your mind, and adhere to the problems, and actually get yourself to the gym when you don't want to, struggle, suffer, go through hard work that gives it that value?
Yeah, 100%. I think that confidence is actually not a thing. Confidence comes from competence.
Exactly.
So doing things over and over again and showing that you can do it. And
my student, guys. Yes.
Guy's a sellout.
Yes.
And basically, so these types of people who have done stuff, they doubt themselves less because they've done it. It's that simple.
You're a different guy. You have that confidence in yourself of being delusional. I mentioned this last time on one of my podcasts, and I was saying, as a guy, if you've never been delusional, you are missing one of the greatest superpowers that you were to ever experience. Compete. When you do anything hard, when you have to do something that almost merely seems impossible. It's crazy. You have a universe that if you just work hard, you can't lose. And the thing is, most people will tell you that, oh, if I just work hard, you'll be happy, you'll be fine. You know, just try your best. But the thing is, there's a difference between that one guy that finishes the job and he knows deep down he actually did everything in his power, and he's always going to leave as a winner. Doesn't matter the result, doesn't matter what happened. If you truly know you have left no stones unturned, you leave as a different person, and you never leave as a loser.
100%.
So tying this back to the idea of why should you actually go ahead and train, other than the benefits that you can go ahead and search up on ChatGPT, improving your metabolism, improving whatever it is. In terms of your mind, you're a bad motherfucker if you can control yourself and actually go ahead and do something you don't want to do. Make it as hard and as challenging as possible.
You know, it's interesting you bring that point because, I mean, I know this is happening in the training world, but it's happening in the whole entrepreneurship, self-improvement space. Everyone has this less is more mentality, which doesn't really work. And people forget that you build confidence in anything. Coincidentally, when it comes to training as well, from volume. The number of times, if like person one who's asking out a bunch of girls, he gets rejected by 9 of them, is still way more confident and way less fearful of rejection than the guy who's trying to come up with the perfect one-liner and hasn't asked out yet. And all of life works that way. And I think it works that way in the gym too. Even if you look at people who train, just people who have crazy physiques, there's it's almost like there's no method to it because they just walk in and smash everything.
Exposure.
Yeah.
It's a game of exposure. Everything is a game of exposure. If you knew you were only a few rejections or a few failures away from succeeding, how quickly would you want to go and fail?
Bro, you're stoic Instagram, I know.
Yeah, bro. I am. I haven't.
With the lion in the
back. Bro, I am the lion. The lion doesn't get disrespect from the biker. You've seen that one?
No.
Yeah, you haven't seen the guy who just runs over the biker?
A lion ran over a biker?
No, bro. A car runs over the biker, and then it comes up the picture of the lion. He's like, a lion doesn't take disrespect from the biker.
I saw a photo the other day. A tiger doesn't care about the opinions of Indonesian people.
What the fuck? What the hell does that have to do with anything?
I just saw it on Instagram.
Do you think, seriously, on a serious note, actually, like seriously, dead ass, okay, 100 men could defeat a gorilla? Like seriously, actually, no, like let's break down scientifically. How strong is a gorilla? A gorilla is what, 10 or 100 times than an average human?
I've heard average gorilla bench press based on calculations is 6,000 pounds.
Oh, so just my strength basically. So
6,000 pounds.
Yeah. So that's like 10, double it in
that's
kilos.
5 or 6 times the world record. What's the world record? 800 pounds?
For bench press?
Yeah.
I don't know. For deadlift, it's like 500, 400, 450, 500,
I think for like 290s or 280s.
Okay. So yeah, that's obviously ridiculous.
Okay, 100 average men, no. 100
prepared man, I think we'll have a chance. 100 average men, I think you'll fucking rip them apart.
100 skilled wrestlers or jiu-jitsu or sambo guys,
what are you
1,000%. Pin the gorilla down on the ground, break its arm.
Oh, like
My honest answer, no, by the way.
No.
I don't think anyone can beat a gorilla.
Bro, I think 100 men, I think we have a chance, bro. But like, I think the thing is, again, you could have the most skilled fighters in the world, and I think you see a gorilla just fucking tap on his chest, you shit yourself. Like, I genuinely think that.
The reason I said wrestlers is because I.
But here's the thing: like, is it supposed to be average men, or is it supposed to be trained men, and with or without equipments? If it's with equipments, bro, fucking
what
one gun.
What do you mean by equipment?
Bro, one gun. Give me a Glock 19.
Okay, but that's if the question, rest in power.
Yeah.
Harambe got quick scoped.
Yeah, bro, you'll get quick scoped. But so I guess it's not. You don't have weapons involved in this. It's just purely hand on hand. And if that's the case, bro, just throw one Nick Walker.
Do you think 100 British fitness coaches from Dubai fight a gorilla?
What are they gonna do?
The JBR Beach Club guys. Do you think they could take on a gorilla?
Bro, 100 of these British PTs in Dubai. What are they gonna do? They're gonna smoke vape. They're gonna go to the 5. They're gonna smoke vape with them. Order a bunch of champagne. What else are they gonna do? Like with their Gucci bags and the Gucci sandals.
Hair transplant.
With Van Cleef wrist thingies.
Do people wear fake ones of those?
I don't know.
Because I see everyone wears them now.
I don't know. But 100 of these guys?
Yeah.
Hello, mate. No, mate, you shouldn't let your knees go over
Mike
your toes.
Thurstons.
Bro, Mike Thurston is pretty jacked.
Yeah, very jacked.
Nah.
But everyone, what's interesting? Everyone says, these like people like Mike Thurston, where people, I personally think he's natural.
Yeah.
Because I know you, I know Sean.
You understand the standards of natural bodybuilding.
The natural potential is quite high. But what I was saying is a lot of these physiques on social media where people think they're not natural, if you actually see these people in person, they're way less big in real life.
Yeah, they look a lot smaller.
Like, if, like, I'm saying this respectfully, but like if you wore, let's say, like a non-tight t-shirt, you would look like a fit guy, because when you're natural, you don't have like the structural sizeness of like, you don't have like the structural gains you get, or like just the width you get from using drugs and the roundness and all that stuff. So
100%.
like that stuff's only visible when you're leaner under lighting or on a shirt.
I've mentioned this. I coach one of the best naturals in the world, which is Jack.
Yeah.
And Jack looks mind-blowing with a shirt on. If it's a normal shirt, he looks big. Okay, don't get me wrong. He doesn't look small.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like the big guys that I know that are on drugs, basically.
He doesn't look like you wouldn't tell your naked eye that he's like,
no, he doesn't look. Yeah, he doesn't look like one of the best in the world with a shirt on. With a tight shirt, you'll be like, damn, this guy looks jacked. Once his shirt is off, you're like, that's not natural.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the thing with natural
guys. Do you think Michael Hearn's natural?
Bro, I get this.
To be honest with you, I'm leaning towards
natural.
Yes.
I would say he's.
I would say, it's mainly for the fact that. Okay, he knows what he's talking about, by the way. That's one.
Yes, because you can tell he has that you know he has. It's an experience talk. He can put it into words. And this is also another thing that I have been speaking about, a term called muscle maturity. I've had a ton of backlash from some guy called TNF. Again, respect TNF. Don't get me wrong. TNF seems to be one of the actual very good influencers I see all over the internet, but he is also swallowed the PubMed pill here. But here's the thing about Michael Hearn. I got this question as well about Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Do you think he's natural? And my answer to this is yes. I think he is natural, but hold on. That he is natural. Is it achievable natural? Sure. But does it mean he actually is natural? No. Because let's break this down, right? These guys, Michael Hearn and The Rock, are in the entertainment business. You bodybuild, or if you make movies, or whatever you do, this is entertainment. How do you make money? You need more people to go and watch you. If you need more people to go ahead and watch you, does this stop you from taking a little bit of juice? Fuck no, that makes no difference. And it's the same question that comes down to MMA, it comes down to boxing. Do you think these guys are on drugs? Of course they're on drugs. This makes no sense because you guys cannot think about this. If the business is about entertainment, what would stop you bringing the most jacked guy that's ready to smash someone that you want to see extremes. If you want to see extremes, drugs are going to be involved. It makes no sense. So is he natural? I think his physique is achievable natural. By the way, Michael Hearn is one of the biggest guys I've ever seen in real life.
Oh, did you see him?
I have met him before. He was actually in my first ever competition.
He's like 6'2"?
He is pretty tall, and he's huge. He is very big.
Was this a show where Jay Cutler was with him too?
No. This is when I competed for the first time myself.
Okay.
When I competed at 16, he was brought as like a special guest.
Okay.
And I saw him. He was huge. Yeah. Genuinely very big, and he was ripped when he was that big.
He's always
ripped. Yeah. And I mentioned this. It's like you have these guys that look like they shouldn't even be on stage because on a competitive bodybuilding stage, they wouldn't really do too well. One of them is Andrew Jacked. Andrew Jacked is like not a guy that he seems to be able to win Mr. Olympia, but he has one of the most beautiful physiques I've ever seen in my whole life. You see him with clothes, he looks jacked. You see him with tight clothes, he looks jacked. You see him without clothes, he looks jacked. So, but the thing is, in a competitive stage, he has gaps. That's the problem. Right? And that's the thing. With Michael Hearn might be a little bit better in terms of a competitive perspective. But can he be natural? Sure. I'm going to say sure.
I think it's achievable natural. But I'd say physique is achievable natural in the top 1%. Yeah. But I don't know. The reason I'm just saying I don't fully know if he's natural is the age and the skin.
I would say this actually, that's an advantage to why he actually is natural. Natural bodybuilders are blooming late. Best natural bodybuilders in the world.
What do you mean by blooming?
You're going to see they're at peak physique, very late stages of their life.
Is that because of the maturity?
Because it takes time to put on that muscle. It's not something you're not going to be able to see the best natural bodybuilders very early on. And there's enough evidence out there showing Michael Hearn has been training for a lifetime. Yeah. There's videos of him training and competing when he was 12 or 16 or something like that. And he looked jacked at 12 and 16. It wasn't like little. So is he natural? Maybe.
Now, well, we both know this is a myth, but I think we can explain it, especially because we might have some of these busier older people watching this. Talk to us about this myth of not being able to put on muscle or muscle loss at later ages, because you're just talking about that now with natural bodybuilding, so it's clearly possible.
100%.
If natural bodybuilders can do it, who are already almost at their, let's say, genetic potential, then the average layperson can for sure do this.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. You're only really going to thank yourself when you have done it and you've built muscle. Because, again, I mentioned this. There is not one single problem that cannot be improved or solved by just having more than average muscle mass and controlling the body fat levels. And the order to do that, you have to weight train, right? Older guys, can you still build muscle? Absolutely. We're adaptation machines, right? If we provide a stimulus to the body, we even have evidence showing that you do not need to perfect the environment with perfect nutrition. Your body can still go ahead and build muscle. So even talking about the idea behind what's more important, food, sleep, or training?
I was about to ask you this.
It's always been about training.
Yes.
It's always been about training. That's why Manjaro is bullshit. That's why gastric bypasses are bullshit. Yeah. All the doctors getting you to do gastric bypasses, gastric sleeves are all scammers. Nobody seems to understand this. Weight loss is only a part of the journey.
Okay, so gastric bypass exists, and now it's a scam. Why?
Let me tell you why. There's multiple different reasons why. You are gonna go through different phases in your life where you're gonna gain weight, where you're gonna maintain weight, and you're gonna lose weight. All of these things naturally also happen, right? Now, here's the thing. If you weight train throughout this whole entire process of these cycles, whether or not you induce it, whether you choose to go into a bulk or whether you go into a cut, if you weight train, you're gonna be able to maintain tissue when you're coming down, and when you're going up, you're gonna be able to build more muscle. Right? When you're coming down, you're gonna be able to maintain that muscle mass and that bone density, but on the way up, you're gonna be able to use that extra fuel to build more muscle, right? That's the main thing. When you go ahead and do a gastric bypass, first of all, you're gonna be cutting out a piece of your stomach, and with this, there's multiple different magnitudes of problem with this. Number one is that there is something called the fundus body. When you remove this, right, it's a portion, yes, sure, absolutely, the whole stomach is gonna be producing something called intrinsic factor. The problem with this is intrinsic factor is needed to actually absorb vitamin B12. That's one important thing. Gastric bypasses, gastric sleeves, when you reduce this, stomach acidity is gonna come down. Different portions of your stomach coming down, you're gonna be absorbing nutrients worse. You're solving a problem of lifestyle issues by basically creating a disability in yourself and causing that disability is gonna be causing malabsorption to you. You do not see the problems of malabsorption now when you're young. You're gonna see the problems when you're 60, 50, 60, 70, when your body is starting to break down, when you're already naturally entering a catabolic state. For females, especially if you're gonna be entering post-menopausal period when your estrogen levels have dropped down, you're already losing muscle mass, you're already losing bone density, and you have a gastric bypass on top of that. You're not gonna be absorbing nutrients as well. You're gonna become anemic. Most girls are already anemic. You're gonna see all the problems then, and when you have lack of density, your quality of life is poor, you're gonna fall in the shower, you're gonna break a bone, and if you don't know this, by the way, 99% of problems in elderly is not the fact that they start to have problems in their health or anything. It's just the fact that it all starts with a fall. It all starts with a fall.
That's true.
A simple fall.
I swear that's so true.
It starts with a fall, leads to a bone breaking because they broke a bone. They can't move. When they can't move, they start to get fatter, start to pick up metabolic diseases, and overall that starts to lead to bigger and bigger problems.
Yeah, it's almost exponential at that point. Now, one thing we were kind of touching on earlier.
Manjaro, bro, we touched up on a lot of things. You want to jump down deeper into gastric sleeves. The thing is, with gastric sleeves,
one thing I wanted to mention, and this is more of maybe a conspiracy type of question. We have had many different things, some more in physical procedures, some maybe more, let's say, cosmetic, so more external. So we have liposuction, we have gastric bypass. All of these have a deficit. All of these create a drawback, by the way. But so we have liposuction, gastric bypass, some hormonal therapies, which can be good or bad. And then we also have GLP-1s now. Why, if these are so bad, why is there so much credit around it? Is it just because, Big Pharma controls everything and it's a money thing? Or is there potentially, for example, gastric bypass, I've read that as well, what you were mentioning. It's 100% true. So I can't say that. But what I've heard is so many experienced people have very mixed opinions on these GLP-1s, especially because they act in a way where they're very potent for appetite suppression. Now, one of the things is even some bodybuilders about how it's helped them sleep and whatnot. So why do you have such a heavy stance in comparison to everyone else who's, I guess, somewhat similar to you in a way?
Let me tell you, this is a very good question. And the answer is, the reason why you see all this hype about GLP agonists is that number one problem is obesity. Obesity is the big problem in the world. And GLP agonists are a tool. They're helping reduce appetite, and this as a byproduct is leading to them eating less and losing weight. But here's my problem. It does not solve the root cause.
Yes, it doesn't.
It does not solve the root cause. So you see, the problem is obesity. The tool that we're actually promoting right now very hard is drugs for this. Number one is that this is promoting Big Pharma's work, right? At the end of the day, who's going to be benefiting from this? Big Pharma, right? No doubt about that. Sure, amazing, Big Pharma, big ups to your marketing system. You guys are the best. I give you credit. Second problem is this is not solving the root cause. If you go ahead and you use drugs to actually bring down someone, let's say this, if you're fat to begin with, it's nothing genetical, it's nothing abnormal. It's the fact that you have a shit lifestyle. You don't train, you don't eat well, your lifestyle is shit to begin with. That is the core root of everything. Whether it's to do with the fact that it's the people that you hang out with, whatever it is, your lifestyle is shit to begin with. If I take that person that has a shit lifestyle and I give him a drug that makes him less hungry and he just starts to eat less of that shit lifestyle, what you've created right now is a malnutritional perspective. Right?
Yes.
So now this person is just going to be eating less and he's going to be malnutritional. Now, we are solving one problem by creating another problem. And guess what? Big Pharma has another solution for this other problem. Now you become malnutritional? Let me go ahead and sell you with nutritional injections, nutritional IVs, nutritional this, nutritional that. The problem, they're selling the solution. Now, the reason why I'm so against this is because of the fact that it's not the answer to the whole problem. But if we introduce one thing, one simple thing, whole equation, we will solve 99% of this. And that's just if you go ahead and weight train. If you weight train, you'll build muscle. Bigger muscle, bigger engine, more healthy for every single individual. When they eat more food, they can utilize that more food to build more muscle. When they eat less, they're going to be preserving muscle mass and preserving bone density and losing body fat.
Talk to me about your McFlurries diet you were doing.
McFlurries, bro. I'm fucking blasting McFlurries, bro.
These McFlurries,
I'm blasting McFlurries. I'm blasting Ben & Jerry's, and my HbA1c is at 4.6.
Do you track how much?
Of course, I used to.
So let's say you would have, like the times you would have McFlurries, how many calories were you eating in a day?
Good question. I cut down over the past 7 weeks. I did it during Ramadan, so in 6 weeks from Ramadan, beginning of Ramadan, and I cut down 10 kilos of body fat in about 6 weeks' time. And I did this completely flexible dieting. Yes, I had some nutritional foods in my diet. Yes, I had supplements in my diet. I was having Shake Shack, McDonald's, and McFlurries, sometimes Ben & Jerry's, every night.
Out of curiosity, did you enter this diet saying, why don't we just do it this way, this more free, to prove a point maybe?
Sure.
Because also what you just explained, I did something similar about a year ago at some point where I would do this. And what's really interesting is it's actually a very time-friendly diet.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, there's one big thing. It's sustainability. That's the main thing. And here's the thing. I did every single thing against the rules. I trained fasted. I trained 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just stopped caring. My movements were very unoptimal, you could even say. I chose very unoptimal movements.
Sure, yeah.
And the main thing is an exposure game. If you suntan for 10 hours today, wherever in the world sun's shining for 10 hours, if you suntan for 10 hours and you get super duper burnt, can you go back tomorrow and suntan for 10 hours?
No.
Okay, but if you suntan for 30 minutes today, can you go back tomorrow and suntan for 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Exposure. It's a game of exposure. That's training. You're a master at training now. Go get your PT certificate. Done. That's simple. That's training for you, broken down, right? Now, here's the thing. When it comes to this idea behind what I did, I was very busy. I'm a medical student. I have to study. I have 2 to 3 businesses that I'm currently running. And I have many different clients that I have to be replying to on a daily basis, right? Because of this, I have to make sure that I could have came up with something that was not going to bother me, that was sustainable, and that was adherable. Is it optimal? No, because my rate of volume progression was definitely not as fast as it could have been if I just lifted up the time that myself. I would have progressed in volume much quicker. But because of the fact that I'm limited on that end, I just added 2 extra days of training. So I train 7 days a week. I don't take any rest days, but I'm training for 15 minutes a day.
So what's your split?
I have basically, let's start off from Monday. Monday is the crazy day. Ridiculous. Okay. I die on Mondays. I have it's a full body day that day. We have RDLs, hack squats, pull downs, and bicep curls.
Okay.
All in the same day, and everything is a minute in between to 10 deep breaths. And then we have Tuesday, which is an upper body session, hitting shoulders, back, chest and triceps and hamstring curls. And then the next day, which is today, was split squats, hamstring curls, and calves.
Okay.
And then tomorrow I got another upper body day, which is very similar to the other upper body day that I mentioned, but it's just biceps instead of triceps. And then we have a leg press and an RDL day. And then I have a machine squats day and a row day. And then I have another day where it's basically arms.
How many days are you resting a week?
No rest days.
No rest. Another rule broken.
Another rule broken?
Yeah.
Another rule broken. There is no rules to this game. If it complements your lifestyle, if you're trying to achieve, it's going to work. If it doesn't, and you're really going out of your way, I guarantee you're not going to stick to it for the rest of your life. You need to program for your training to make it sustainable. You need to think about it in terms of doomsday protocol. I call it doomsday protocol. If you have exams, if your children are annoying you, if you have work until midnight, whatever you got going on, you need to program in a way where you cannot miss training. To me, 15 minutes every day is unnegotiable. If I missed 15 minutes a day, I'm a pussy. So that could be for you, it could be 4 days a week. That could be 2 days a week. That could be 1 day a week. Anything. Program according to your lifestyle. It's very limited for you to actually be able to get results training 1 day a week, but it's better than nothing to begin with. You can really push 1 day a week.
Yeah.
Right? But you're going to be limited at some point. There's a certain ceiling to this, how far you can take it. But start with whatever you got to. Make adjustments on the way. I started out doing this 5 days a week. And then I saw my volume could have progressed faster, and I brought it up to 7 days.
Yeah, I had a client join me the other day, and he said that he actually wanted to start a bit later, even though he was serious, because he was moving houses. And I just told him that if you just start now, you'll build all the tools you need.
This is one of the most beautiful things ever, because I'm sure you get client inquiries that are like, oh, this is good, but I want to start during summer. Or I want to start after summer. Or it's Ramadan, I can't now, I want to start after Ramadan. And you know what's the funny thing? If there is Ramadan every year, if there's exams every year, if there's everything that's going on with you multiple times, you're going to be busy every time, or are you just going to give up on everything and lose your physique every single time? Wow. If you had a business and your business was depending on you, and every single time you get busy, you let go, what's going to happen to the business?
Yeah, it's going to crash.
Same thing to do with your physique.
Yeah.
So it blows my mind. People think about it as it's a periodized thing, that you have to push for this period of time and then I'm going to stand up. It's a strategy. Don't get me wrong, it can work, but for the average Joe, you guys just want to try and get to your physique. You have to think about it in terms, and you guys take too long of a breaks, to be honest. You fucking think you should go off for a month. Come up with something that's sustainable, whether that's every day, whether that's 5 days a week, whatever it is, stick to it. Because if every time you get busy, you let go, you're not going to look good. You're not physique, nothing's going to happen. You're not going to make any sort of progress. And the funny thing is, then you go and complain. Oh, my training doesn't work. Training is not the thing. And then you go and do a gastric bypass or you go take Manjaro. You're stupid. Simple.
Now, one other thing. So we've talked about the time aspect of training. Let's talk about the time aspect of nutrition. How can someone on the more busier end? So, for example, what I always recommend is like pre-cooked proteins at a supermarket, like literally like a Choy Trums or Spinneys.
Bro, nutrition is bullshit. 90% of nutrition is bullshit, especially the rules that you have for nutrition is bullshit.
How so?
What are some rules that we got out here for nutrition?
Daily protein goal.
Daily protein, pretty good one. Protein goal is not a single thing, it's a range.
Yeah.
So depending on how much your protein goal actually is, there's a certain range that you got to be falling under. Not a real thing. And let's say, for example, you could go ahead and, there was always a thought that you should hit it every few hours. Yes, true. It's better if you actually break that up. If you hit your entire daily protein
like protein frequency.
Yeah, frequency. That was a thought. Yes, sure. But if you have someone that's busy, does it really matter for them to actually break that up? Or is it more important for them to just make sure they get the food in?
2 big meals. Yeah.
Exactly. So look at everything from a bigger perspective. You have two really, backed up by science, you have two most important things in this. Carbs are actually not the most important thing at all. They are actually non-essential. Your body can actually produce carbohydrates, glucose from your liver. Now, you have essential fatty acids and you have essential amino acids. These are the two things that your body cannot actually produce without actually getting it from food. That's the most important thing that you need to make sure you get from food. But here's the thing. We have evidence showing that as long as you actually train, you do not even need to be in a perfect nutritional environment, you can still build muscle. Whether or not... Building muscle has everything to do with signaling. Nothing to do with your actual amount of calories. Sure, you can do it more efficiently if you're in a surplus of calories, but it's everything to do with stimulation and recovery.
So, for example, earlier you were talking about how TNF is kind of in this PubMed niche, and now you're talking about scientifically proved evidence. So, how do we analyze studies properly and validify of it? Like, know if this study is
science
valid.
Science is an amazing tool. If you cannot use science to actually back up real life evidence or actually give it meaning or use real life evidence to back it up by science, then you have just done nothing. So the TNF was that he sees that it all started with guy, who's the famous guy that just competed natural, he won his pro card, I forgot, Jamie Wilkins, something like that. He's very famous in the fitness scene.
Shorter dude?
What's his name?
Brinks?
No. The same guy that I was commenting on his video for.
TNF?
Yeah, no. Here.
Will Tennyson.
Will Tennyson.
Yes.
It started from Will Tennyson going ahead and winning his bodybuilding pro card. By the way, a lot of people go ahead and give this guy shit that, you know, he didn't look good and etc. But all I have to say is bodybuilding is a time and game place. Whoever you show up at the end of the day, like Will Tennyson, if he actually doesn't look good, he's gonna really struggle battling it out in the pro leagues now. So it doesn't matter whether he looked good or not. If he won his pro card, he just ended up at the right place at the right time. Sure, doesn't matter. Now let's see him in the pro stage.
So did he win a natural pro card?
Yeah, he won WNBF Pro.
WNBF.
Right. Now, thing about Will Tennyson. So everybody was talking about how the fact that Will Tennyson is actually not as lean as he could be, even though he posted a video saying that he's about like 5 to 8% body fat, I think around 8%. And then TNF came out with a video saying that this is not 8% because if you see me, I was 8%, my legs were more shredded. I told him this is to do with muscle maturity. And he's like, no, there's no such thing as muscle maturity. There is no real scientific term for muscle maturity. But are we just going to ignore the fact that the guys that seem to be beating the shit out of their body for the longest period of time seem to be getting an edge?
What's the difference between big muscle and mature muscle then?
Big muscle and mature muscle. This is it's a bit anecdotal. But if you take a look at two people, Derek Lunsford and Hadi Choopan. We can take a look at these two guys because they were both coached by the same guy. And I actually had a conversation with Hani about it. And Hani said the exact same thing. Hadi is much older than Derek. Hadi has been abusing his body training. If someone takes a look at how Hadi has been training for hours on a day-to-day basis, they're going to be like, what the fuck has this guy been doing? Hani's biggest thing about Hadi was he had to back off his training because Hadi created too much fatigue doing that. Derek, on the other hand, some of his muscles, like his legs, have been cooked. He has very mature legs. They look fantastic. Looks crazy.
Lacking
upper body,
in the chest, yeah.
Chest and abs, the two areas that don't stick out. Chances are, if you go ahead and take a look at the amount of volume that these body parts have been producing over a long period of time, you'll realize that they're actually lacking behind. So Hadi is someone that's had more time. This is a time game at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So that's where the idea behind mature muscle comes in. If you have any other scientific term to truly back up this point with better terminology, please bring it to my attention. I am someone with open ears. Until now, I have not found any sort of scientific term to actually back this process up properly. It's a game of exposure that only gets you to a maturity thing. That's the thing about bodybuilding. At the end of the day, bodybuilding is a visual sport. You cannot turn everything visual into actual data.
I think there's a huge division between the anecdotal / bro world and the science PubMed world. I think the only thing that somewhat...
We see it if you completely ignore everything and you just go off of the PubMed stuff, you're going to be behind. You're never going to be able to treat the patient properly. Right? You got to take at everything. It's not something that you can actually go ahead and say, oh, you know, PubMed tells me to do this, I'm going to ignore everything. Doesn't make sense. It's not, PubMed is, you're going to miss a lot if you just go ahead and do that.
Now, when it touch on a few last topics, but for example, there's I'm sure parents a lot, that too much protein is bad for your kidneys, specifically too much protein powder. Now, before you answer this question,
what is protein powder?
I have a mini question for you first. I know a guy whose coach pushes 4 scoops of whey a day. Isn't that 2 is fine? It's just, I don't know if it's negative. Even I know it's potentially not negative, but I think relying on one source that much is bad.
Yeah, so here's the thing. The problem is, even on whey itself, there's a disclaimer that says this item should never be replacing actual dietary foods.
Yeah.
On every supplement is also. Now here's the thing: every source of protein that you're eating contains a group of amino acids. We call it the amino acid profile. Now, some of them are essential because your body cannot make it up itself, and some of them are non-essential. It can make it up itself, right? So if I'm relying on a single source for a very long period of time, my body's not going to have something we call an available amino acid pool in the body. What you want is we cannot synthesis, which is the process of building muscle or repairing muscle, or et cetera. That how often this happens. Some people say it's every 4 hours, et cetera. It's not perfect. It's not. Because of that, it makes sense for you to be doing frequent feedings, right? And to have variation of protein. That's the idea, right? But let's say if we jump back to this individual, maybe this individual cannot do that. So is that a problem for him? What's more important, him hitting his goal or the source?
It's a bigger picture always, yeah.
Always take a look at it from the bigger picture. Once he can go ahead and do that, maybe he can go ahead and, change it up every once in a while. So again, it's always, let's take a look at it from the bigger picture to begin with, right? So maybe for this individual it's necessary. Lifestyle.
Now tell me about the kidneys thing.
Protein and kidneys do not have, the kidney damage have anything to do with each other. Now you have something, here's the thing, when you have protein, especially if you're in a catabolic state and et cetera, if you consume protein and your body's in a state where it has to utilize amino acids for energy, it goes through a process called deamination. And this actually leads to free ammonia. And this ammonia needs to go through the urea cycle to be excreted out of the body. Now, here's the thing. When you go ahead and consume more protein, your urea levels are going to be higher because your body is going to be utilizing protein more for energy. Sounds pretty normal, right? If you get sick, your body's going to break down muscle mass. Your urea levels are going to go up. Does that mean kidney damage? No. It's just a waste product. Same thing with creatine. People think creatine and creatinine are the same thing. Creatinine is a waste product that your body needs to get rid of, right? Creatine is a supplement that you go ahead and use. If you don't use creatine and you go ahead and you have a very hard labored life, you're already going to be having higher creatinine levels.
Yeah.
Right? So if you go and induce creatine at that point, now this person might have more energy and he's going to go ahead and work even more. So then his creatinine levels are even higher. Does that mean kidney damage? No. Drink more water, rest well, eat enough food, your creatinine levels will never rise. Even if they do it short term, it's completely harmless. And then you even have this thing that's been sold out. Have you ever heard of this, by the way, that creatine causes hair loss?
Yeah, it's BS.
Right? You've had it was actually based off of a study that was done, I think it was in 2009, on a group of rugby players. These rugby players, they were given creatine and they realized that the level of DHT had raised up. So for people that don't know what DHT is, it's like, you can look at it as like, you have the mother drug of, you have the testosterone, it's like a derivative of it. That's how you can kind of look at it. And DHT more specifically affects the hair follicles, prostate, etc. Right? So there was a thought that from that study that creatine causes an elevation in DHT levels, and DHT is a thing that's going to cause hair loss. But there was a more recent study that came out that showed that there was no correlation between creatine and DHT elevation. So nothing.
So it was just
It's a bullshit study.
a guess.
It was a bullshit study.
Yeah.
It's debunked. But that's science. What's right today might be wrong tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of science. People think if you get something wrong, that's the end of and be all. You know how many times I've been wrong?
Yeah, me too.
I've been wrong. Like, if I was never wrong, I would have never learned.
Yeah.
So go be wrong. What can I say?
You have the science guys. You have the bros anecdotes. How can we bring these two closer to each other? Because I think
make the science guys work out more and make the working out guys study more.
So it's a combination of the two.
Absolutely. I think it's a combination of both. And only when you have gone to both extremes will you have actually achieved them.
Yeah, pendulum theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, navigating extremes is very interesting, especially, for example, the most screwed up people always have the strictest parents. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Serious. Especially girls.
You see it yourself now as well, because especially you were in Canada. I didn't go to Canada. I didn't go to any of these other places. And it's like they grew up with such strict rules, and now they're given all this freedom, and they go and become the guys that are, having drugs. They're, fucking becoming, a lot of them are these transsexuals and whatever, the trannies, the big things that are all happening. These are all coming from the guys that had super restrictive parents, and they were almost not allowed to make mistakes. How did you get into training?
Golf.
Golf? Golf got you in? Well, why?
I wanted to hit the ball further. I just needed more.
Did I ever tell you how I got into training?
Hockey?
No.
Injury?
No.
How?
I got caught and got suspended in school for vaping.
I didn't know you used to vape. That's crazy.
Yeah, man, but this was like when vaping was all about the tricks. It wasn't about the little nicotine. At the time, you had to get these like big freaking vapes. Yeah, the Dragon Mark. Yeah. The ones that was like 1,000 watts. Yeah. Like you'd blow like fucking clouds.
Yeah.
I got caught vaping in school because this girl that crushed on me snitched on me because I didn't like her. And when the principal came in, I stood up. My vape fell down. And I was like, fuck. And that was when I actually got caught. My dad wasn't in the country. My mom just made me tell my dad, and my dad was obviously pissed and etc. He didn't really do anything. Second time I got caught, my grandparents were in Dubai, and I was hotboxing my bathroom. I opened the door real quick to go and turn on the lights.
Oh, no.
And a little bit of smoke came out. And as soon as I closed it, my dad came in the room. He's like, oh, Emad, your food is ready. Even though he saw the smoke. And he's like, I'm like, okay, I'm taking a hot shower. I'll be out in a minute.
Okay.
And then I actually took a hot shower to make it look like I was taking a hot shower. I go downstairs. I'm starting to eat. And then I don't know why. I didn't even realize my dad's not there with everybody. I'm like, where the hell is my dad? I quickly run upstairs, and you know how you have those tiles on the roof where you can like push up, like in your bathrooms?
That's where you hit it?
That's where I hit it. I go upstairs, my dad's ripped the fucking roof off. He's found everything.
What did you have? Just vapes?
Just vapes. Vapes, like coils. And the thing is, the coils were in packets. It kind of looked like pills. But they were just coils, I swear.
Okay.
He didn't say a word. Took everything to his room, and I was like fucking shitting myself in my room. Yeah. He's like, called me after 5 minutes, took my phone, put it against the wall. Like, if this is the wall, he put it against the wall like this. Boom, fucking turned my phone to a flip phone. And then I had hockey that same day. Threw my ass in the car, took me to hockey, and I tried so hard in that day to show like, oh, I'm this G. Smoking doesn't affect me. I have my cardiovascular system. I was dying.
Yeah.
After I finished the game, threw my ass in the car, took me to Dragon Mark. It's like, show me where you got it from. Like, I don't want to. I'm embarrassed. Like, I don't want to. And then he's like, go in front, tap your foot twice, leave. I did it. He goes inside. I'm standing from afar because I want to see what the hell's about to happen. I'm standing far. I hear like him starting to shout or something, and then 2 officers come in to the place, and then he comes out, grabs me, and let's go. Next week, I found out that my dad opened up a case against them, and they couldn't pay a fine, and shut the whole place down.
The vape dealers?
Yeah, the vape
dealers. But what
dealer.
was their store on the outside?
It was a music store. Speaker store. Yeah, they usually did that because vaping was illegal at the time. Yeah. And what's it called? It was very funny because at the time I kept on thinking to myself, oh, Dad, like you're being too extra. You don't need to do it. Like, come on. Like, it's not necessary. But bro, now I'm older. Like, now I see the younger guys, and big ups to my dad. Like, seriously. If he didn't do that, I don't think I would have really learned my lesson. And after that, by the way, I got grounded for a whole year. I wasn't allowed to go out. I wasn't allowed to do anything. They even put a timer on the Wi-Fi, so I couldn't even use the Wi-Fi. Damn. I couldn't do shit, and all I could do was...
I know someone else who got grounded, and it turned their life around.
All I could do was go to the gym, school, and that's it. And here I am, overtime, yeah.
Did you already have a gym in your house?
No, I didn't. At the time, no. I met my coach in that period of time who really pushed me. And
who was your coach at the time?
It was Jay. I was actually at his wedding this past summer in
Jay...
Italy. Yeah, you don't know.
Is he in Dubai still?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
This guy?
No.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah, no, man. It's crazy stuff. I mean, now kids are just...
Yeah, man, vaping is everywhere now.
It's very interesting. You have people who will tick almost every box in terms of, like, good family. But then they have this plastic toy in their pocket, and it's like...
And so many of them are like, oh, bro, you don't have fun. You don't do shit. You don't do anything. Bro, if I want to hurt my health, like you are right now for a little bit of fun, I'll just take steroids.
Yeah.
Why would I take a vape that's going to hurt my health and give me nothing in return when I could take steroids, build more muscle, go and compete, make money, do other things?
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Would you ever? Weren't you going to start, someone told me, a year or 2 ago? Like you were like this close or something?
After I finished competing and won my pro card, I was like, I really thought about it logically. Because competitive-wise, I am 23 right now. If I progress realistically, it can take me a few more years, like maybe 7 years, to really get to a place where I can compete for the big stages because I know what the standards are. I coach one of the best naturals in the world. So I was like, you know what? Either I start a new journey, which I take drugs and I go into the enhanced side of the world, or I actually just continue doing this. And I wasn't confident in myself, in my understanding of drugs, no matter how much I studied. And now I can tell you I'm a lot more confident in my understanding of drugs. Medicine being a big part of it. Very huge part of it. Understanding pharmacology, etc. Very, very big thing. And of course, also my mentors, a lot of the mentors that I learned from, Abdullah Al-Wadi was one of the biggest ones. Learning from Broderick Chavez, learning from Victor Black, learning from Callum, learning from John Jewett, all of these guys, even though a bunch of them actually just comes down and ties down their anabolic knowledge, comes back and ties down to Broderick Chavez and Victor Black. A lot of them, they have their own. That's the main key thing. Everybody's their own experiment, and listening is the best way that you can actually go ahead and learn. So, would I start steroids now? If that's a question on your mind, no. Still
would you do it strictly to compete?
I don't see a point otherwise.
I agree.
There's no point otherwise. Like there's genuinely no point otherwise. You should be in a very good place health-wise, and if you're in a very good health-wise, you'll already have the amount of testosterone that you need. You're going to feel fantastic. You're not going to need any of the actual therapeutic benefits of tea. Most of these guys that take TRT and etc., their lifestyle is shit. And here's the thing, your body is an incredible... The more I study, the more I realize that every single thing that happens to your body is happening for a reason. Your T levels are low. It's because your body's bringing down growth factors for a reason. If your lifestyle is shit, you're a breeding ground for problems, cancer, whatever else it is. So if you have growth factors on top of that, it's going to make things worse.
Define shit lifestyle.
Shit lifestyle, high percentage, metabolic diseases, diabetes, hypercholesterolemia.
Describe it in habits.
Describing of food. Most importantly, lack of stimulus from weight training, poor sleep, poor people that you hang out with. Yeah. That's one of the biggest ones. You hang out with fucking losers, you're going to be the fourth loser, right? Smoking, one of the biggest ones. Having high blood pressure in general. Blood pressure, guys, if you take something away from this whole podcast, please check your blood pressure regularly. It is the main problem that creates a cascade of 3 million other problems. Blood pressure, key, everything. And yeah, this is probably one of the biggest thing in terms of lifestyle. You're going to have low T because your body's very smart at suppressing that, and generally it's not in a good place for it to have higher T. I guarantee you, take someone that has low T, improve their lifestyle, put on a bunch of muscle on them. It works like an upward spiral. You start to actually take control of your food. You start to take control of your food. You start to train. You start to build more confidence. You start to get more energy, and this creates an upward spiral. You get more energy. You go make more money, etc. So then you're going to realize you have higher T. Just because you took care of things. T is a very big thing, right? But the thing is, it works as an upward spiral. It doesn't work as a downward spiral.
So if you were to, let's say...
And a lot of people think this also. When you take testosterone exogenously, like an injection, right? They think you will never get back up. I have clients, right? People close to me that I have worked with for a very long period of time who have taken testosterone, and while they were on testosterone, they have changed their lifestyle. It's very rare, because when you actually take T, you do change your lifestyles to some degree, but most of the time these guys associate T, so they just take more drugs. But I have guys that have taken it, improved their lifestyle, come off, and their natural testosterone production has been higher than what it was before when they even started, right? So there's all this idea that you will be shut down for life. It depends on the duration, it depends on the compound you're using, it depends on what you're doing, right? But again, if I'm not looking to do this competitively, I don't see the point.
So if you were to do it competitively, let me ask you, when is it too late to start? What age? If you need 7 years, does that mean that if you're 27, it's probably not a good idea?
Depends on your goal, right? Let's say if I want to go and become Mr. Olympia, if that's the case, right? If I want to go and become Mr. Olympia, the sooner the better. The sooner the better. We have many older Mr. Olympias. We have some of the best bodybuilders in the world, and some of them were very old. You have who was it? Samson is not the youngest guy on stage right now.
What's his name? Dexter.
Dexter was a very good example. There was this guy, I forgot his name. He was 212 Mr. Olympia at some point.
Arab guy?
Yes.
Hassan Mustafa?
No, 212.
No, 212.
something.
Muhammad al-Ghanani.
Kamal al-Ghanani. Kamal al-Gharani.
He's...
Al-Ghani. Yeah. Kamal al-Libya, I think, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, he's Libyan. And Is it late? Unless you're like 70.
Sorry?
Unless you're like... Kamal is not the youngest guy either.
When do you think... Yeah, like if someone wants to... Okay, who's better off? Rules aside. Person who does 1 to 2 WNBF, CPA, whatever natural federation shows, and then goes on gear? Or someone who just trains 2-3 years, goes on right away?
Of course, the guy that has actually had competing experience. Because the funny thing is, there's so much in bodybuilding that we cannot explain with science. You cannot explain muscle maturity with science. And if you don't understand this, you're going to rely on more drugs, and it will never get you that big. It will never get you to that place. Right? You got to understand maturity. You got to understand what you got to be doing. If you master, everybody says the basics, but they don't understand what the hell that word is. Your basics is getting results from nutrition, training, and sleeping. If you can get results to a very high degree from these, and when you've hit a place where your rate of return has slowed down, at that point, inducing drugs is smart. That's when you should start, if that's your goal.
So more in an advanced stage of natural development.
Yes.
What's Hani saying? Bodybuilding is natural bodybuilding plus drugs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding is natural bodybuilding drugs. That's a good...
Anything else you have on the top of your head you want to touch on? Maybe you...
You want to touch up on these ideas that we spoke a little bit about. Bariatric surgery was a big one. What else are lose weight? Cardio, a bunch of fucking cardio. Cardio is useless as well. I said this a long time ago that aerobic activity to lose weight is completely useless. Because I'll tell you this.
Especially from a time return.
Sure, time return is one thing, but second thing is even if you lose weight from it, it's not going to be fat.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of times. It's everything. Muscle mass is due with signaling. If you can directly signal that tissue to stay, it will stay. Otherwise, it's going to fuck off. So you doing hours of cardio for fat loss, it's not going to work. Stop. I don't do any sort of cardiovascular training directly traditional.
Have you ever prepped someone without cardio?
Yes, a lot. A lot of clients.
And I know.
Ali did no cardio most recently when he competed. Ali's done cardio.
When did he compete?
2022.
Oh, okay.
23.
I thought you mean like recent.
No. Amin did cardio. Sure, you can use steps to a certain degree, but no cardio.
What's the highest you push steps on a prep?
Sorry?
What's the highest you've had to push steps on a prep?
Actually push it, or push it just because I didn't know what the hell I was doing?
Just the number. Like now, what's the highest you'd push?
10 to 11K, 14K maybe. You want to know one of the stupidest shits I've ever done because I didn't understand bodybuilding much?
What?
I pushed one of my clients up to 2 hours of cardio a day.
Yeah.
And separate 20,000 steps. And out of that 20,000 steps, about 4,000 to 5,000 of it was weighted. So you would have to wear weight and walk on an incline.
Okay. I think I know who this client is.
Yeah.
Was this a prep?
Yeah.
Is it true you made this client also do like 20, 30 rep leg press?
It's a staple to train in different rep ranges in the way that I program trainings.
Like 30 reps?
Yes. Yeah, probably. Even up to 50.
Like, but would you program that now?
Depends on the individual. I think if you're intermediate, I think if you've never experienced pain and mental suffering of higher reps, you definitely have to do it at least a few times to genuinely just get your mind clicking. That's it.
Yeah. I think the highest reps I would go to in terms of just convenience, ability, and everything is like 20.
Yeah.
Because beyond that, it's just more of like...
Have you ever done 50 rep leg presses or 50 rep squats?
50 rep squats, yes.
Good. That builds your mentality.
Yeah. I went to fail. You know what's interesting? I did this thing one time. I was training with my client, Sarah. We were both training together. And
trying to cover your face.
We were doing leg extensions. I said, we're going to start from... I'm going to do a drop set, every pin to the beginning. After 3 or 4 pins, quads didn't even burn. Very same with the squats. After rep 30, it just felt like
your lungs moving. That are like fucking...
Even like by the 50th rep, it was more like...
How much did you have on? What's the highest you've ever squatted with the most amount of weight?
See, I've never squatted seriously, but I did 3 years ago, my first year of training, I did 225 5x5. 100 kilo 5x5.
Okay.
But see, my weirdest thing is I started science-based so quickly, which I'm kind of grateful for because I don't have the missing body parts most Naturals do, I would say, in a way. But one thing I will say, anyone who squats, doesn't matter, good ankle mobility, bad, everyone who squats has crazy glutes and crazy adductors. And that's what I missed out on.
Yeah, you see,
but like, I hated benching. I couldn't stand it. It felt uncomfortable. I didn't think it was cool. Because like very early on, I entered this like mindset where like, if I'm going to live solely to impress people, that isn't bodybuilding to me. To me, what's like doing 3 plates on like a Smith skull crush, like stuff like you don't hear people do.
Yeah.
Because
the harder
it's
stuff.
like unentered territory. That's cool.
Yeah.
Like a crazy deficit RDL.
Yeah, I get that.
Or like, I don't know, like for me, I want to do like 60, 65 pound incline dumbbell curl for reps.
Yeah, I get that.
Like that quest was always cooler to me. Whereas I think when you see a lot of beginners, they get, it's funny. And I notice in these younger kids, they're trying to bodybuild, but they're spending about 70% of their time powerlifting. And then they complain about growth.
This is something that I have to say. I have powerlifting clients, and I have this talk and almost argument and debate with them every single time. If you're an amateur powerlifter, if you're an amateur bodybuilder, if you're an amateur weightlifter, you are all the same person. Powerlifting programs are bullshit. Bodybuilding programs are bullshit. And weightlifting programs are bullshit when you are a beginner. Because everything is just a linear progression. You're supposed to start off by weight training and progressing that weight training. After some time of you starting that, what should happen is you should start to do more specific exercises according to your to your goals. A weightlifter will start to do more exercises that, you know, are weightlifting exercises. A powerlifter will start doing benching or benching, deadlifts, etc. A bodybuilder will do a different thing. Again, it's continuous linear progression. When you plateau, you improve your food. When you plateau, you improve your food and your sleep. When you plateau, you improve everything until you keep going and you are going to reach a place where you are not progressing anymore. This is years on of linear progression that needs to be taking place. This is why I'm so against a lot of these powerlifting programs of, you know, cycle this, periodize this, periodize that, periodize this. It doesn't make sense when you're a beginner or an intermediate. After some period of time, what should happen if your goal is to really become good at this is that when you have plateaued and you genuinely cannot do anything, your rate of return has really slowed down, then you introduce drugs. When you introduce drugs, you take more drugs when you plateau. More drugs, then you take more drugs, then you take more drugs, and your food goes up with it until you reach another point where you plateau. And when I say you plateau is if you take any more drugs, it's going to cause systematic stress. It's going to cause more problems to your body. And you start to differentiate. Now you periodize. Powerlifter goes ahead. Have you ever trained for a bunch of times and then you stop training and then you come back and you're all of a sudden stronger? Because you've peaked volume. That's what a powerlifter's job is. Right? His idea is drop fatigue, peak volume on the day of a competition. Now you got powerlifting. Amazing. Go get your PT license. Amazing. You're a powerlifting coach. That's powerlifting programming. A bodybuilder's idea is stimulate more, take more drugs to stimulate more, take more drugs, and then go and compete at the best possible, and then come off the drugs, let your body heal. Bodybuilding. That's it. Weightlifting is very similar to powerlifting as well, right? But I have a little bit more respect for the weightlifting guys for some reason.
Me too. It seems less
because
lazy.
I'm not going to lie to you. The thing is, you say it as lazy. You say it as lazy, yes. You say it as lazy, but the thing is, real actual powerlifters are not lazy.
I'm not talking about the top one. I'm not talking about the guys in like West Side Barbell.
I agree. I agree with that.
I'm talking about the guy who sits in the gym, looks like he's never lifted a weight in his life.
And he's following the powerlifting program that's on it.
My biggest thing with powerlifting, I love when someone powerlifts with bodybuilding form. I love when someone hits, like I have a friend, he hit 405 on bench, bro, grips it this far, all the way down, not crazy arch. I love like, okay, like the squat and powerlifting, I can understand that. Deadlift, not a huge difference, conventional. But then when it's like sumo or something, even sumo I can respect if it's crazy, but it's like, what, you're only lifting the weight this far?
But that's a goal, right? I understand the point of that.
So limit range of motion.
That's why I said it's a specificity. To a very big degree, it's just linear progression. You don't need all these different, they're going to come in when you are limited. Right? That's it. When you're limited, at that point, you got nothing else to do.
I just feel like there's more general athleticism in I think firstly, like weightlifting, strongman, bodybuilding, then like powerlifting, at least
agree.
for majority of people.
Yeah, probably.
Because bodybuilding is still a performing sport. It's like something people have a hard time grasping. But if you're going into the gym, like for example, for like a swimmer, that's resistance training. That's training. It's not practice. So it's very hard to explain to athletes how their training is our practice. So like that's why everything we do is to perform, and that's really going to create the physique adaptations we want, the look we want.
And this is the craziest thing, because every single thing a bodybuilder does, and I always say this as well, nobody understands the pain of an entrepreneur, of someone struggling, of someone doing their best to absolutely work as hard as they humanly can to make money, more than a bodybuilder. Bodybuilders understand them the most. Why? A bodybuilder's job is to optimize his entire life to go ahead and train more, to go ahead and do more. So if you go ahead and take that bodybuilder's mentality, optimize your life, but instead of you training more, you go and work more, you have created the money printing machine. Bodybuilders are the people that genuinely understand this, and this is why you have such amazing lifestyle coaches that are bodybuilders.
So explain the broke bodybuilder complex.
The broke bodybuilder complex. The broke bodybuilder complex is the guy that thinks that competing is everything, not realizing that everything is a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Everything is a business. The bodybuilder is there because the promoter makes money from people coming and watching it. That's why Sebum is the biggest bodybuilder in the world. Anybody would do anything for Sebum in the bodybuilding scene. Anybody? Do you really think Sam Sulek deserved to win a pro card? Do you think he really didn't get an inside shot to, come to this show, do this or do that? It's business. I would do it if I was a business promoter myself, maybe.
Yeah, I mean...
No, I'm not that sketchy.
I try to not fully
believe it,
agree with that, but... For example,
it would be nice if it wasn't true.
If I worked in bodybuilding as a promoter, someone on top, it is good for the sport to give Jeff Side, Will Tennyson, Sam Sulek a pro card.
100%.
But at that show with Sam, this is what I think happened, if you want to know what I think happened.
By the way, I think Sam looked pretty good.
Sam was the best physique at that show, but it wasn't a crazy lineup.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying. Do you think he really didn't get like a tip? He wasn't tipped off or something? Could have been. I don't know.
But he just strikes me as too genuine to play in that type of...
Money makes the world go round, man. Money makes it go round. You genuinely don't know some of the faces that might turn on you just for money. That's why this is also a big thing. This is why it's also a very big thing that you do not hang out with weak people. You don't hang out with fucking losers.
Yeah.
If your friends are losers, they might actually genuinely go ahead and convince you that they have your back. They will never hurt you. They will never do anything. But when you don't have power, when you're starving, you'll eat off the same hand that's feeding you. You'll bite the same hand that's feeding you. So if you have a weak friend, if you have someone that is not disciplined, it's not showing self-respect, it's not jacked. This is a big rule of thumb that I always have in my mind. If I'm doing business with anyone, I need to make sure that they are jacked. They look good. Their is good.
I have a similar thing with
because that friends, shows me if this person has discipline, if this person has control over their mind, if this person is able to do anything. Otherwise, at some point in time, they will bite you back. They might even not mean it. They might not even realize they're biting you back. But because that's their reality, they will hurt you.
Yeah. So it's easier to their fault, but sometimes it's not their fault. It's just their mechanism.
It's their reality. Yeah. Their reality has led to them to being in a state where they have to bite you for their survival. They're not going to just let themselves die. So don't hang out with losers. Or if you are in the same place as your bro, make sure you guys are actually progressing together. Otherwise, if the person that you're progressing with is not someone that's willing to grow, outgrow them. Outgrow them and leave them. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in the same place.
Do you like jacked girls?
Do I like jacked girls? Depends how jacked, if I'm being honest. If you're talking about steroids jacked, fuck no. Steroids jacked is just transgender bodybuilding. The guys, and here's the thing, guys, dosage-wise, as a transgender wants to actually go ahead and transition, it's much less than the average female bodybuilder. Yeah. The average female bodybuilder takes more drugs than the transitioning person that was trying to transition back in the US a few years ago.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, Victor Black.
My G Victor Black, bro.
Vic crypto coin.
How much money have you lost from that?
I didn't lose anything.
Damn.
I put 200 and I pulled out 2K and I let the other 100 ride.
That's pretty good, bro. I lost money from Daddy coin. Andrew Tate's coin. I got a bit rug pulled.
But I put 500 into Vine coin because they said Vine was
going to come back and stuff.
Any concluding thoughts?
Thank you so much for joining. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And make sure you follow Hami. Make sure you follow me. And
thank you for watching. And we'll probably bring some more next time.